Okay, for today's video, I'm going to try to do a quick freestyle summation of the dumbbell press on the stability ball. It's the workout that we're going to do today, so I want to touch up on it with my team. There are about 7 flaws that I see that are very prominent when it comes to the dumbbell flies on the stability ball. 6 of them being major, 1 being okay. I'm going to go over all 7 of them. What you guys need to know is you want to minimize as many flaws as you can when you work out. And the reason for that, you're trying to extract as much juice out of each rep that you have. So if you look at it that way, if I can extract as much as I can per movement, look at what will happen at the end of at the other end of that, what kind of return you'll get for that type of approach. Now, if you're loose and sloppy and you do body manipulations and momentum and cut your range of motion, basically all you're doing is you're fooling yourself because you're doing the math. You said, oh, I did such and such weight so many times, blah, blah, blah. But what you want to really do is you want to get your body to respond. And the way to get it to respond the most effectively is you put it under the most amount of stress safely to elicit that response. So I'm going to try to help you point out some of these flaws and hopefully you can minimize them. All right, probably the most common one is the range of motion manipulation that you see on dumbbell press. A lot of times what people will do is they'll grab these dumbbells and forget the beauty of the dumbbells that they're independent. And because they're independent, not only are you working one side more than the other, you're working one side independent of the other. The other thing that's happening is you're able to increase your range of motion. Unfortunately, you guys come here and they'll end up doing same range of motion, just like this as a barbell. And the reason why they do that is there's less distance covered. And if there's less distance covered, then guess what? They can do more weight, and it's less work, and it's a lot easier. So what you want to do is you want to come in here, bring it up and in a rotary movement, and it'd be roughly about 4 inches apart, depending on who you are, the length of your arms, the width of your shoulders, so on and so forth. So that's number 1. Number 2 kind of goes with this. This is the one that's just whatever, it's not that big of a deal. But a lot of people like to clank the dumbbells. And basically what they're doing when they're clanking the dumbbells, there's something that happens with the body. The stress changes a little bit. So instead of being on the spot, it's burning up and it's burning. It kind of goes somewhere else. You have other stabilizer muscles be kicked in, even if it's for a second, even if it's just for that second, you're given that amount of rest in that area. The other thing too is very important is if I come in so much, what's happening is I'm still working, I'm still activated, but really a lot of the stability is in my structural, skeletal structure. So what's happening now is my arm just sitting in the joint a lot more supported, I would say, than if I'm just a little bit out. And if it's not as supported a little bit out, that means my chest has to work a lot more. That's another reason why guys come and they just clank it. The other reason too is that little kick off kind of does it itself, so your body works a little bit less. Okay, so there's 2 of them. Next one is wrist positioning. Whenever you do any type of chest press. So basically what you want to do is to maximize tension on the primary mover, which is your chest. You want to minimize the secondary movers, which are the main ones, the tricep and the deltoid. So what I want to do is when I come here and I come down, I want to have my wrist roughly about 90 degrees. Doesn't have to be exact, but roughly about 90 degrees. This is assuming it's a healthy person doing this exercise. So what that does is it places most of the emphasis on my chest in order to get the weight back up. But what most people do, this is probably actually more common than the first flaw, is they'll have the wrist on the inside of their elbow. Reason why they have the wrist on the inside of the elbow, there's a couple of things. One, my tricep is assuming a lot more of the responsibility than my chest. Therefore, if I distribute the emphasis, or excuse me, the stress of emphasis throughout other parties are bringing a party in more than designed to be, what happens is I conserve the energy in the primary group, therefore I could do more reps and more weight, and that's really important to a lot of guys. The other thing is, it's just less distance covered. If I'm here and I'm coming back up, it's not as much distance covered as here. So therefore, it's also a lot less work. Your body doesn't travel as much. The last thing is actually kind of like a different angle perspective, but you think about your base when you work out. Anytime you hold something with your body, think about like you're moving a heavy object across the room, or you're helping someone move and there's a heavy box. How are you gonna hold that heavy box? You're gonna hold it in really tight. You're not gonna hold it out here and walk across the room because your body already knows. It's already programmed to know that survival means you gotta bring this in here, otherwise your shoulders are gonna give out. Obviously your lower back's gonna give out also. So the same thing comes with this. So guys will grab this. Another reason why they don't wanna come here, it's a lot easier to hang out here than it is out here. You can just do the talk test. I do the talk test a lot when we do abs. And the talk test is just like this. As you're talking, you kind of sit in one position, but then you go into another position and you find out why. Actually, there's an indicator that it's a lot harder that way. So, I want to be out here, further away from my base. I want my outer extremity further away from my base, put more stress onto the chest, and actually making it harder. The only thing about that is you don't want it to be outside too much because it puts a lot of stress on the anterior deltoid, and that's something you don't want to do. Having said that, the caveat is if you have issues with your anterior deltoid or just shoulder in general, and you're rehabbing and you're using this to strengthen up re-strengthen that area, then I have no problem with the wrist being on the inside to protect the shoulder. Another time I don't mind is females. Whenever I have females do chest press, I want them to be more back arm dominant because that's an area that they want to focus on a lot more. And plus, they don't need to work out like us guys where they're trying to just bang out some chest and, I don't know, try to get like a yoke chest. So that's another reason. The next one is the teeter-totter effect. So the teeter-totter effect, I teach that a lot when I teach abs. The reason why people don't get a lot of results on abs is because they don't realize they're using this teeter-totter effect and they're deviating from the base so much, and they have this, like the ocean has a current that pulls your body a certain way, so what it does, it makes things a lot easier in movement. Same thing happens whenever I see a lot of guys do the dumbbell press on a stability ball. They'll come in here, I'm having issues, okay, all right, there we go, back up a little bit. So now I'm coming here, and what they'll do is they'll have their hips up. Oh, can I do that? They'll have their hips up, and then what happens is when they come down, they have their hips up, but then when they come back, they'll pop their hips down. And basically what they're doing is the teeter-totter effect, okay? So if I'm here and I'm neutral, which I should be, and I come down, but I let my hips drop, when I pop them up, it's not so much that whatever's going on here is helping the weight come up, even though it is though, because anytime you harness energy from anywhere else, you take away from the target area. And anytime you engage a muscle group in a very aggressive fashion, that does give you some internal power, even though it has nothing to do with the area you're working out. But the main reason is what happens, well, the cause and effect of that. The cause and effect of my hips going up means what? All this here, the weight here, shoots back. So what does that mean? So if I come here, let's see if I get a better angle. The same, kind of, yeah. Ooh, that's worse. Okay, so if I'm here, I drop my hips down, I pop my hips up. It's not so much that I pop my hips up. All this weight helps bring that weight back up, just like that. The other reason too is, this was a little bit hard to explain, but it's the A to B back to A thing that I taught with pushing and pulling motion with cables. So a lot of times what happens is instead of us doing full range of motion or something, taking A down to B and bring it back to A again, is we'll do this thing where we'll meet in the middle. So if I'm here and I push up like that, basically I'm manipulating both ends of the movement spectrum, which is not something I want to do. If I just want to do my chest, I'm going to sit here and hang out and pretty much just do my chest. Okay, the other one that comes with it is the neck. So the neck, this happens a lot with bench press, also dumbbells. I do this when I try to catch myself, but I admit that I do this too once in a while, but I try not to, but it's the same thing. I come down as my chest gets stretched and challenged. What happens, all the muscles that are also accompanying my chest, they start to get shorter. So if I have a short neck already, it wants to pull it up. That's one reason why. Very bad for you, by the way. The other reason is the body has figured out that if you do this and you shoot it back down this way per rep, what ends up happening is the same thing. I'm getting a pull basically from two different directions when I really just want to emphasize onto my chest. So that's another major flaw. Another one's the ball bounce. That one's pretty big. Kind of tricky though too. Like if I grab lightweight, everything I do, I start off really strict. So all my form is really strict. As I fatigue, I might go into a little loose. As long as I'm not into like some sloppy form. And most importantly, as long as I do it in that order naturally, I don't choose it. It just gets chosen for me due to the fatigue, the intensity of the workout, the amount of weight I'm using, how sore I am, whatever it may be. But a lot of guys, and I hate sounding like a hater, but this is just what it is. A lot of guys do these things because they really, really care how they look in front of other people, which is the silliest thing I can think of. So what they'll do is, right off the bat, which is what makes us wrong, they'll grab weight and they'll start to bounce it off the ball, just like that. It's kind of hard to exaggerate it with just 20s, but in that effect. Now, going back to what I said a second ago, if I had 80s, 90s, 100s, whatever it may be, at some point I would be doing that too. You're talking arbitrarily, if I do 6 reps or something, at the end I'm going to failure. Maybe my last 2, maybe 3 will look like that, but I'm just trying to get extra. That's all I'm doing. I'm not starting off that way. I won't grab 50s and 60s and start doing that. I won't grab the 100s and right off the bat start using that momentum. I'm gonna maximize. I'm gonna almost like, when I work out, like I'm almost on timeout. I wanna do it the hardest way possible. Hardest way possible. And then when I have nothing to give in that manner, then maybe I'll do a little baby pop, just like that. Okay, but if I start from the beginning, my first set or my first rep of any set, and I go ahead and do that, that means I picked a way that I can't even handle or control, and I should have went down, but I let my ego dictate what I was going to do, and really take it away from the work that needs to be done. Speaking of ball, a couple of things about the ball. Actually, let me get to the ball roll. So the ball roll is more like, more for like when you isolate one side. So if I come here, and which one's better, this side or that side, right here, and I go ahead and do a dumbbell press, I want to make sure the only thing moving is my shoulder and my elbow joint. So I'm coming here, and I'm coming up and into that rotary movement. What happens a lot of times is people will let the ball and the hips do a lot of the work for them. So what happens is I come here, I let that drop, this shoulder rides higher than this one, so I put this shoulder back down, drop my weight. If I drop my weight, the teeter-totter comes up this way, and I also use my glutes to come here. And a good way to tell that is you'll see the ball move a lot. You'll see guys go like this, and they'll say, I did 3 sets of 15 with 80s. I'm like, or they'll say I did chest. I'm like, not really. You did a whole body workout. There's nothing wrong with that. Just don't call it something it's not, because there's a residual effect. You can have adverse reactions or complications later on the road. And plus, you want to know, it's important to know what you're doing. Be conscious and aware, like exactly what you're doing, and not inflate what you're doing and not mislead yourself when you go to work out. Last thing is, maybe we'll talk, I'm gonna do a whole video on the size of the ball. So the size of the ball you choose, that's actually gonna be a really long video. But if you're doing chest, one thing I do, I try to always grab the smallest ball I can. Why? Because everything I do is abdominant. So my core is very, very important. I work out my core, everything I do. So no matter what we do, it's that in core. It's because of the way I position myself, or the instrument, tool, device that I use happens to be something that challenges my core all the time. But a lot of times it's just the way I position myself. Positioning is so important with the foundation. So I pick the smallest ball I can. That engages my core a lot more. The other thing though, in relation to this workout, is I actually don't want my triceps to be resting on the ball as much as I don't have a choice. Obviously, I'm not gonna grab a smaller ball than this unless I do something wild on the medicine ball. We do that from time to time also. But on the regular, this is about a small 55 millimeter ball you're gonna get. So what happens is, I wanna make sure I go to do them. I am not, hopefully you can see me, unfortunately. So when I come down, I still feel a good part of my arm hanging off. Nothing's really obstructing my pathway, and nothing's giving me support or barrier or stop lock. So anytime you use a stop lock, at that second you're resting, and at that second that means you're recharging. It's like literally putting your phone in the charger. Something happens instantly. So as soon as you rest on something, your body starts to recover instantly. And the reason why guys do that, once again, you can do a lot more reps, a lot more weight, so on and so forth. Now going back to a scenario used earlier where that's okay. Once again, if I'm rehabbing my shoulder and I want to get range of motion, rotary movement back into my chest, and I've had issues, then along with lighter weight, I might actually use the oversized ball because I want that shoulder support. I want that ball stop here. Therefore, when my shoulders stretch any more than that, it's into the ball. It's kind of like a brace. Yeah, it's like a band when people do pull-ups on a band, but it's just a nice little bungee support system coming up and in, just like that. Okay, I'll go over that a little bit more another time. We'll go over the stability ball when it comes to abs. That's going to be huge in a really long video. Okay, thank you for watching this rough draft. Peace out.